New Zealand an exception?
We believe that New Zealand is an exception. The quota management system is the basis of how New Zealand manages its fisheries, and it sets catch limits for each species based on the best available information that we have. And what we're seeing is that New Zealand fisheries are in a good shape.
If you went to the Marine Biology Conference, which is currently being held in Wellington, and said that, you would be laughed out of the auditorium.
We recognise that there are some species that are not at the levels that we'd like them to be, but we've got rebuilding programs in place for those species, and we're always looking for science and information on which we can base our decisions. So generally, yeah, we think that the fisheries are in pretty good shape.
According to the Ministry, of the 117 fish stocks it manages, 79 are considered near or above sustainable level. 38 stocks are in trouble, including southern kingfish, some tuna stocks, west coast North Island snapper, all bluenose stocks, and of course orange roughy. So what do you say when they say, look, our fishery is in good shape?
I don't believe that at all, and I don't think that many marine scientists in New Zealand would believe that at all.
We're just going right up to the red line at the moment with most of our fisheries management, and if we want to have a resource in another 20, 30 years' time, we need to back off and play a much safer game.
Are we fishing like to the brink of extinction?
Yes, really. We're fishing really hard.
When it comes to our arrow squid fishery, the Ministry says because there are species which only live for a year, it has no way of establishing exactly how many squid there are or how many can be taken without threatening the stock. So how do you know, though, that squid are in decline?
Well, two reasons. One, if you have a look at the Ministry of Fisheries' own data, it's going down. And that's pretty typical of all fisheries in New Zealand at this point in time.
Is it not just a bad year?
I don't believe this sort of nonsense. I think that if you attack these populations from every angle like we are at present, we take out the adults, we destroy the egg masses, we trawl the hell out of the oceans out there, you're going to have cascading effects through food chains. Systems just crash. And what we've got to move to is a more ecosystem-based approach to fisheries management. We're not doing that. We're managing stuff on a species-by-species basis. It's called the quota management system.
It's not just what we're fishing in New Zealand waters, it's the way we're fishing. Two of our biggest export earners, orange roughy and hoki, are caught using the controversial bottom trawling method, considered the most destructive fishing practice undertaken in the world's oceans. Ships trail weighted nets across the seabed, catching fish but damaging almost everything in their path. Is there any excuse in this day and age, to be bottom trawling or gill netting?
Bottom trawling, for many species, is the only feasible way of catching them. Now, bottom trawling does have an effect on the marine environment, but having said that, about a third of New Zealand's exclusive economic zone are benthic protected areas, so they're set aside from bottom trawling, and these are areas that have never been trawled by and large. They're almost like the national parks of the seafloor.
Do you think that bottom trawling should be banned?
Should be outlawed immediately. We certainly won't be doing it in 100 years' time because there's going to be no fish stocks left anyway. But the practice itself should be outlawed immediately as being barbaric. It's 15th century sort of medieval technology.
The squid fishery uses a mix of midwater and bottom trawling. Therein lies another problem for the squid.
The way that we're catching squid today is using nets. And the problem with this is that generally they are targeting squid that are spawning. And the squid come together, and what they're doing is they're releasing very large, 2 metre in diameter, in fact, gelatinous egg masses. So the net comes along and, of course, sweeps that away. That's gone. That's on someone's restaurant table. The egg mass at the same time is trawled away and absolutely destroyed. So we fish today using trawls, we take out the adults, and by destroying the egg masses, we're also destroying the next year. Is it any wonder these fisheries are collapsing?
What fish not to buy at your local market has been listed in what's known as the Best Fish Guide, produced by both Forest and Bird and Greenpeace. Such is the pressure on the ocean. New Zealand's Best Fish Guide, it's not exactly encouraging reading.
Look, the Best Fish Guide is one group's take on what's going on, but that doesn't take away from the confidence we have in the way that we manage our fisheries.
They're not just looking at the fish stocks, they're looking at their sustainability, the by-catch, fishing methods, vulnerability of overfishing and management.
The Best Fish Guide takes into account a number of factors, but those are also factors that we take into account when we're looking at setting catch limits. The Ministry's required to balance up utilisation and sustainability, and that's a balance that we always face.
Economic or ecological?
Ecological sustainability.
So what do you do if you want a good feed of seafood? Well, around the world, supermarkets, even flash restaurants, are becoming more conscious, even banning fish that's been bottom trawled or is under threat. At Wellington's Logan Brown, all the seafood has been sustainably caught. What's not, owner Steve Logan just wouldn't have on the menu. So what fish has that eliminated?
Oh, well, there's the ones like orange roughy and bluefin tuna, you wouldn't touch with a barge pole. But there is still plenty of choices out there. It hasn't been too bad.
So nothing that's been bottom trawled?
We do not use anything that's been bottom trawled.
It's all been, somebody died.
It's a small kitchen-led protest, but Steve Logan hopes it'll change perceptions.
We just make an effort, we go to a bit of trouble, and it makes us feel good, and maybe some customers will notice it, and maybe they'll think about it and maybe take similar choices when they're shopping at their fishmonger or their supermarket or so on.
Just as certain as it is the sea will give up more whales, we can be certain marine biologist Steve O'Shea will keep telling the world what his scientific research is telling him. If some drastic measures aren't taken, we'll all be seeing a lot more of this.
All we hear about is collapse of this fishery, collapse of that fishery. And what we're seeing now are starving whales, or whales with extreme ulceration in them. Now, as far as I'm concerned, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to put two and two together. And we can go out there and fund research and search for the next 10 years to actually